content so we have something to share. On to wonderful content. Let's go ahead and stop your screen share. Thank you so much for doing that for me. So the next component of this is, it's great. We now know, we're kind of working backwards, right? So we started with, how do we tell people about what we're doing? And then we went, hey, where do we create a platform that contains that information? Now the next thing is, where do we come up with some content, right? Or more importantly, depending on what kind of event you're doing. If you're doing a little local event, you may have to generate your own stuff that's happening. If you're in charge of running a kingdom or principality event, the officers and the populace tend to come up with stuff, but they're terrible at telling people what that stuff's going to be. And so this is where you can serve a really important role in being a clearinghouse for information. But first you have to get them to tell you what it is that they're going to do. So we touched upon the idea of creating Google Forms. And that's a good passive way to collect information, and that will, the hyper-organized people will come find you and they will fill those out. That is not all of our people. So what I really like to do is I like to reach out to people personally and individually. There are some tricks. So if you send a mass email or a mass Facebook PM to the vast majority of our folks, a good chunk of them won't read it, okay? But if you type up a script in your favorite word processing program and you copy that script and you paste it into an individual email or an individual Facebook message, and you change a couple of details so it's personalized, you can actually send the same information out to people almost as fast as doing a mass email, and you greatly increase the likelihood that they're going to respond to you. You know, I watched, going into this last arts and sciences tournament, I watched some folks really take that technique and use it for teacher recruitment, and the amount of classes they came up with was amazing. You know, that personal approach, most of us are pretty good at ignoring a general call for something, but if somebody actually comes and asks us individually for help, we're going to respond. Then one of the things that's really important, when you get that information and it comes back to you in Facebook Messenger, which doesn't last long, it's going to keep scrolling, that conversation with that friend, or even in the email, make sure that you capture that information, you put it somewhere. I personally, as we are all aware, I'm a really big fan of spreadsheets. So what I do for these sorts of things is I'll keep a Google sheet that I plug all of that information into. If your organizational brain works differently, there's nothing magic about spreadsheets, but make sure you capture that information, put it somewhere static. You know, it's possible if you're working at your computer all the time, it may be just as easy for you to stick that onto your web page if somebody promises to do something, and so you're building that calendar in place. I work on my phone a lot of the time, and the web pages are a little difficult on the phone. So that's why I tend to stick stuff in a spreadsheet, because there's an app for that. So that's one step that can come into play. As you start to get information in building a schedule, push that information out to people. There is a subset of folks that want to do something, but they don't want to conflict with something else. You know, so, you know, for example, if you are planning something at a Crown event that it's really important for you that the members of the chivalry are going to be there, you're probably not going to schedule it during Shiv Council. You as an activity planner don't have a lot of control over when that happens. So what you do is you sit back and you wait until someone says when Shiv Council is. Once you know when Shiv Council is, then everybody posts their information out, and that goes forth from there and things build. So if you can, if you're doing an event where the royalty are involved in running it, if you can reach out to them and their head of court early and try to get information, even if it's just partial information. Hey, do you guys know when you're having your peerage meetings? You know, you can go ahead and start to slate that information in. You know, is there anything special you want to do for your tourney? Are you holding a Queen's Champion tourney after your coronation? And start to kind of put those bits and pieces into the schedule. Then what you'll find, right? So we've got a few people that will fill out your Google form. We've got some people, maybe officers, maybe other people you've approached privately that will get you information. As the schedule starts to come together and you start to push that information out to people, people will realize they have permission to tell you what it is they were planning on doing. Generally, what they will do is they will do this somewhere on Facebook. Currently, that's going to change as Facebook changes. It used to be they did it on the Yahoo group. So you're going to see it in the event section. You're going to see it scroll past on the Kingdom page. People will kind of put stuff out. And that's them, believe it or not, trying to tell you what they're doing. They don't always know to come talk to the event steward directly. Some will come find you. But if you see that information, capture it together. Just like you did with your PM responses, put it the places it needs to go. Put that information out and just keep that information flowing back and forth. We need to communicate forward and communicate back. And then all this stuff comes together. And through the process of you sharing a lot of these things and other people sharing things, it actually starts to build a lot of buzz for your event, especially if you start it with enough lead time.